All right, Corey, thank you. Nice to see everybody in here today. We had kind of the tale of two matches this past weekend with a really poor performance against a good Penn State team on Wednesday in front of our home crowd. We've been away for, seemed like a month, and we were all excited to come home and play well in front of our great fans, and Penn State had some other ideas, and we just didn't match up to them very well. On that particular night, we were all disappointed, and I thought that it was amazing what our team was able to do in 3 days after that match, how they regrouped and had a lot of soul searching and responded really, really well to go up and play a Minnesota team that had, the same night we lost to Penn State, they had beaten Wisconsin, who's the most big and large and physical team you'll ever find. So we knew we had our hands full with Minnesota, but we came in with the right mentality, knew what we had to do to be successful, and our players just executed the plan to perfection. As anybody watched it, knew we served the ball extremely well. They're not a great passing team. They're not terrible, but they're not a great passing team. But you have to take advantage of that. You have to put the serve on the right people in the right places. And we did a masterful job of that. And then, Raven was Raven. Raven Colvin's turned into just an incredible volleyball player right now and a great leader. And we got consistent play across the board from people. So it was a really good way to cap off the week, because it was a bad 3 days from Wednesday through Saturday afternoon. So turn the page, and it never gets easy, obviously, in this league, but we go to Northwestern on Friday and play up there, and those are always good matches. I don't care what sport you're playing. It seems like when Purdue and Northwestern get together, there's a rivalry there, and it's a tight contest. And then we come back home on Sunday, and we have Michigan State, who played Penn State really close yesterday afternoon. They won the first set, and I think the fourth set was a two-pointer. So pretty good performance. They played them tougher than we did, obviously, and it was at Penn State. So that's what we have next, and we'll have a whole week to prepare. We don't play until Friday, which is nice to have 4 days of training, because we think that that's something that we do well, and we've got a lot of things we've identified to improve upon. So that's a story, and Sam, I'm ready for you.
Your teams always have been pretty good serving, and then I think last Wednesday you said something about, you're not serving up to par as a team. It's not just like a quick fix, but I guess kind of what happened in the span of 3 days where you go out and all of a sudden you have a legendary performance from the service line.
Well, I think when you get your tail kicked the way we did, your focus narrows quite a bit. And there were a lot of conversations between the Penn State match and the Minnesota match, and there was a player meeting. There was a lot of different things. We had several players coming up to talk to our coaching staff. Mostly, what can they do to help? What can they do to make the situation better? Which was a real positive thing, as I would expect from the players that we have on this team. But again, I go back to the fact that I don't think that we've been a poor serving team. I've seen some improvement in the way we're serving the ball, but a lot of it also has to do with who are you playing. And if you're serving the ball really well against a great passing team, it doesn't show a lot, that they pass the ball. But if you're passing, they're serving the ball like we did against Minnesota, and they're a team that's not great in that area, then it certainly shows up. But the balls that Raven Colvin started the match, and that's when it started. Raven Colvin fired some missiles over the net to begin the match, and that got them on their heels right away. And then Ryan McAleer gave a steady diet of bullets, barely topping the net and serving them deep and aggressively. And then what Julia Kane did in the fifth set. Julia Kane never played a year ago. Julia Kane didn't play much until about 2 weeks ago. But she has absolutely zero fear in anything. That's just how she lives her daily life. She has zero fear. And for her to go in the fifth set and serve 3 consecutive aces, it just separated us. At that point in time, everybody in the gym knew it was over. And it went from a 2-point game to a 5-point game in a 15-point contest. And she made the difference in that. It's kind of an interesting story.
Even though you have some players out right now, is this maybe a testament to the depth where you're mentioning Julia Kane? Ryan obviously has helped you passing the ball and as a server, right as soon as she got here.
Well, it's a testament to some depth in certain areas. To be honest, we showed up for that match with Minnesota, and we didn't have a single sub that could go in and play in the front court. We had one of our front court players was out with an undisclosed injury. We think she'll be back today. We have another player that couldn't be there for other reasons, not disciplinary at all, but couldn't be there, and we're thin to begin with. So if we would have lost a front row player, Rachel Williams might have gone into play in the front row, who's a backcourt player. We were really, really thin. Now, I hope that we never get in that position again, but depth is not exactly the way to describe our squad at this point. But it's a testament to me of how those players that were able to play were locked in and ready and did everything they could to win that match.
Even though you would have liked to have had a better performance against Penn State, to come out of the opening weekend with the two opponents you played 1-1, you have to feel pretty good with as much of the conference season as remains, given going on the road and then obviously playing two teams that were in the top 15, 16 in the country last week.
Yeah, it's not a kiss of death by any stretch of the imagination, but I think what made it a good, or what made me feel better about it was just how we responded. I think you always evaluate athletes and people on how do they respond to something when it goes poorly. Will they get back up on their feet? Will they fight? Will they compete? Will they pull together? And so, we did all of those things to get a real win. I mean, if you check the record books, Sam, and we have not won a lot of matches at Minnesota,
Right.
Mostly because they've always been a top 10 ranked team in the country, and that they've always been really, really good. But I think, and we don't play up there every year, as you know, but I think we went about 18 years before our staff was able to beat Minnesota at Minnesota. So when you go up there and you win, it's a big win. And so, especially coming off of the bad loss to Penn State.
Rewind to the beginning of the year, and Raven Coleman was left off the Big Ten, all preseason team. And maybe she'd say that she didn't care. I don't know, but do you think that motivated her? Do you think that was something that she kind of looked at? And now, obviously, she's getting her flowers. So
Yeah, keep in mind there's a lot of good players. I think that how many were on that list? Rachel, was it 18 on that? 18. Okay, there's 18 teams in the Big Ten, and they're all really good. And it's hard to, make that preseason team. Preseason teams obviously don't mean anything unless it's motivation. And in this case, I think she found a way to utilize that as motivation. She's been driven, but she's always motivated. Colvins are constantly motivated. They're always trying to prove something. And Raven's been a great leader for this team. She's developed greatly in that category. But right now, she is playing as well as anybody in this league. I don't think any coach in this league would tell you any differently. That what she's bringing to this team, from a blocking, hitting, serving, just leadership, is as high as I'm sure there's some others playing as well, but not very many.
And then, after we talked about Penn State, and it seemed like you guys said that togetherness and kind of the grit that you guys seemed to have last year wasn't quite carrying over. I'm sure Minnesota was a step in the right direction. What are you looking for in terms of signs that your team could, is going to pull together that way?
No, terrific question. And somebody asked the question, might have been the veteran writer in the back. I asked a question last week about what's your identity? I think that was Tim, wasn't it? Okay. And I didn't have an answer. Okay. And I told our team that after the match with Penn State, that Tim was questioning what our identity was. And as a coach, I didn't know. And I said, that's not a good thing. Okay, to have a team and not know what our identity is, because all great teams have identity. And so I encouraged them to try to figure out what their identity was going to be as we move into this season. And I think that they showed something by the way that they regrouped and fought back. Clearly right now people think we're a good serving team, So that might be something they could put on their calling card, would be serving. But I still think that we're Purdue, and we're going to be tough, and we're going to fight. We outdug, this hasn't been talked about, we outdug them like 79-61. And that's by getting all those aces. So there are a lot of times they didn't have a chance to even attack the ball at us because we were acing them, aced them off the court in terms. So I thought defensively we were really, really good, and that's who we have to be. There's a lot of other areas we can get better in, and that's something we'll start with today and identifying some of those things. But we better be tougher than everybody on our schedule, and we were not tougher than Penn State. Penn State came in and just opened up a can against us, and we didn't respond to it. And so it was good to see us respond in Minnesota.
I guess I have to ask, after talking about serving for most of the last 2 years as a point you guys could work on, after this Minnesota game, do you think you're a good serving team now moving forward?
Oh yeah, and I was leaning that way after the 2 previous weekends. The guy that coaches Houston thought we were the best serving team he'd seen in a long time. All right, but we still have areas that we have to get better. We've got to put 6 dynamite servers on the floor in this league. And if you're not super familiar with volleyball, you don't recognize that it's just so valuable. The athletes are too good right now that if you serve an easy ball over the net, they're going to run it right down your throat. You might as well serve it in the net as opposed to just serve an easy ball, because they're going to score at a high percentage of the time. But that percentage I told you about point scoring is getting higher and higher for our servers. Even though the competition is getting better, we're doing a much better job. And we had, I think, 4 people serve at a really high level against Minnesota, and we just got to continue that trend. But yeah, great questions. Thank you.
Coach, how did it feel to finally play a 5th set, and what does it say about your squad that it took 13 games to have a 5th set for us?
I didn't even realize that. I mean, I realized we played a 5th set, but I didn't realize that was the first time. I should have, I guess. I think that we were playing teams that, for the most part, that we could handle up until we got to Kansas. And keep in mind, Kansas, I think Kansas and Creighton and Penn State are all going to be in the top 7 in the poll this week. Okay, so top 7 or 8, so not chopped liver. And we were right in the match with both Kansas. I feel like we're a better team than Kansas now. They were really good at their gym. They're the best defensive team we played this season. Creighton was a Final Four team the night we played them, and I think they're that good. And then obviously Penn State just punched us in the mouth when they came in here. So 3 good teams, but it's good to play 5-set matches because you're going to play some. And the more you play, the better you become in those. I know Minnesota's played about 7 of them already, and they played a great schedule. Minnesota knocked off Texas in 5. They beat Wisconsin in 5, and so it was nice to be able to persevere through that one, mostly because of that great serving.
Thanks, Coach. And what makes Taylor Anderson such an effective assister? She's got almost 500 already this year. What makes her such a good setter, and how much does that help your hitters?
Well, she's improved dramatically. She carries herself with great aplomb, just cool as a cucumber all the time. I wish she wasn't quite as cool. I wish she would show a little bit more intensity, but she brings great balance to a team that has some real intense competitors. So I think that I'm okay with that. In the world of setting, I don't really evaluate setters based on their assists that they get. Because if you got great hitters, you're going to have a lot of assists. Okay, I evaluate great setters based on how they locate the ball for those hitters, how they run their offense. They're making a lot of decisions during the course of a match. Every time the ball's served, they're making a decision of what route every player is going to run, and then after they run those routes, who's the best person to set the ball to based on the position that they are in. So decision making is huge. Leadership is really significant. And if you're running a 5-1 offense, which Taylor is doing, you're doing a lot of other things. The match against Minnesota was by far the best defensive effort she's ever had. She dug
54, or
Those-
assists 54.
and digs. She's in double figures. I think she had 11 digs. And we've been on her and on her and on her about playing defense. And it's just hard for young setters to recognize that when they're thinking about who they're going to set the ball to next, they also got to play defense. But she was really, really good. So I think becoming a great setter, being a great setter is a lot of things, and I would not put the number of assists that high on that list because it's just a matter of a 5-set match. So there's a lot of opportunities, and Raven Colvin was getting the kill about every time she got the ball. So that was a good thing. So, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah.
I'm good, Dave.
You're all good?
I go back to your students.
So you showed up and then you didn't have a question.
I don't want to get your team angry again.
Okay. I think you need to. I think that might help us. But anyway, hey, thanks guys. Appreciate it. I've got one more.
One more.
You talked about Raven being on a different level, but when you look at these numbers, can you kind of put into perspective what 2.6 kills a set, hitting 435, 1.8 blocks, the aces? This is next level stuff here that I don't think we've seen.
Not the combination of them. You know, first of all, as a middle hitter, you don't get a lot of sets typically because the ball has to be put in a certain position. What she has done now is because of her ability to now finally go behind the setter and go off 1 foot and have great success and have great confidence, she's opened up the opportunities for her to get a lot more sets by that. Okay, so now she can run a couple of different positions in front of the setter. Now she can run a couple positions behind the setter. And so she's getting more swings, therefore she's getting more kills, and she's playing so well, her hitting percentage is almost 500, which is remarkable, okay? But she's also helping us with her blocking. Last week I know she was leading the country in blocking. I don't know if she still is, she's second. And keep in mind, she's not 6'5" or 6'7" like some of the blockers in our league, okay? She's got to work extremely hard to get her hands on the volleyball. But then the serving, okay, is just, there's no middle blocker in the country that serves the ball as well as she does, which really helps her down the road because when you play international volleyball, you play professional volleyball, nobody can come in and serve for you. Like right now, we can come in and have somebody serve for our middles because we have enough substitutions, or your libero serves for one of your middles. But we would never have that happen the way she's serving the ball. I mean, I think she is our best server right now. So all those things to have in one person is unique, but the fact she's a senior, I think, has provided her with that experience and that skill level that she's just really, really good. And I don't see it going away. I mean, you know, barring any kind of a medical issue, she's here to stay right now. I mean, she's just really locked and loaded. Okay. All right, thanks guys. Appreciate you all being here.
Of course.